I'd like for Ben to lead us in the pledge. Do we have any citizen comments today? Yes. Nobody's registered. All right. At this time, I'd like to welcome Sergeant Brian Hawkins. And Rich, if you'd like to introduce him as a new board member.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? How's that? Okay. Yes, so today we will be welcoming our newest board member, Sergeant Brian Hawkins from the city of Blue Mound. Nominated.
Hi,
Brian, I'm going to address you by your first name here, just as a board member rather than a police official. Come forward. Come on over. So Brian comes to us from the city of Blue Mound Mayor. The mayor there has nominated him, and the county has approved Brian's appointment to the board. So his term begins now. We're going to be doing a swearing in January with the first meeting of the new year. So Brian, you and I will be spending some time together also with the board to get him up to speed on business at Trinity Metro. We're here to work with you. Thank you for making the time to be with us, and we're looking forward to having you on the board.
Right, thank you. And find some time on your calendar in the next week or two, and we'll have a cup of coffee when you get a chance. I'll give you a call. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the board minutes for the last meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Let's go to committee reports. We'll hear from Tito, who was at the RTC meeting on November 10th.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple items. One of them is that the Trinity Metro was recognized as a 2022 DFW Clean Cities Fleet Recognition Award recipient in the as a silver fleet winner. So congratulations, and I believe Don accepted the award on behalf of the agency, Don Lambert. So thank you so much. Congratulations for all y'all do. Thank you. Just another item is that the legislative agenda, RTC legislative agenda was presented and approved. I believe Chad had forwarded an email to us that it had been reviewed by agency staff and been approved. So thank you. Those are my two items.
Thank you, Tito. We'll go to commuter rail. Charles?
I had a question before we moved on to the next item. Ed, I saw in the paper where the city of Fort Worth is going on Tuesday, I think, or Wednesday, they're going to approve their legislative agenda as well. Have we coordinated our goals with them, and are our goals incorporated in their goals, or?
I would have to talk to Steve Montgomery about that. TJ Patterson is the city's government affairs person, so I'd have to contact Steve on that. I don't know off the top of my head.
Great. I think Steve's out of town.
I'll double check, though.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the Commuter Rail Committee met on November 21st, 2022, and Vice President and Operation Officer for Rail provided insights into TexRail, which included continued ridership increases as well as expanding the long-term parking capacity over the holiday season. At our last TREAC meeting, the staff report included the need for capital upgrades for the TRE equipment maintenance facility, as well as a discussion over the future of the TRE corridor. I'll ad-lib a little bit there. They're going to come forward with some numbers for us to look at as what it would cost to completely modernize the TRE with new equipment, and some projections on what that would mean to us, both partners. So we don't have that report yet, but it is coming. And at Tree Act, they discussed future items such as presentations to area chamber leadership programs, extending Tex Rail 165 from the Mercantile Station to the TNP, and the installation of automatic passenger counters on the Tex Rail fleet beginning Q2 of this fiscal year. We have one board action item on the consent agenda, BA 2023-08, which provides for the Tex Rail extension project management. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Charles, Ben, the POM committee.
All righty. So, POM Committee met November 21st and knocked these out in order. Planning and ridership, pleased to acknowledge system-wide ridership continues to perform well at more than 615,000 rides in October. Zip Zone ridership was more than double year over year in October from 10,000 up to 10,806 from 5,048. Vanpool has also doubled in year-over-year numbers. Now it's actually more than doubled. We're at 30,500 ridership over 13,000 a year ago. And with regards to planning and ridership, Chad shared quite a lot of great information about the general planning consultant contract we have coming up. With regards to operations, buses continue to have a strong on-time performance with almost 92% in October. In-house access was 96.4% in October. Both exceeded our goals. And Wayne shared information about the purchase of fleet air conditioning parts and a contract amount increase for mobility on demand. Marketing and communications. Glenn shared highlights and results from October's marketing and communication efforts, including outstanding partnership opportunities that drove significant event ridership on a number of Trinity Metro services, as outlined before with our doubling year over year on quite a few services. More fun to my family and many of the families of Trinity Metro. The holiday opportunities grow in ridership for Zip Zone and Tex Rail, including opportunities to get to Lightscape at Fort Worth Botanic Gardens, Grapevine's Christmas capital of Texas activities, which if you haven't been, take the train, check it out. It's a lot of fun. Your kids will love it, your spouse will love it, and you will be tired at the end of the night. And then, of course, both TCC and City of Fort Worth's Easy Ride counts in October were the highest post-pandemic results we've had to date. And also, Glenn shared information about incorporating veterans into our discounted local tickets. This is one of the first initiatives out of our ridership task force and near and dear to quite a few of our staff and family and members of the board. So we're excited to have those opportunities in incorporating discounts for veterans amongst our services.
A question, Ben. Did Chad talk about how well we're doing with regard to other agencies in Texas?
Oh, yeah, this seems like a setup, but I love the lead. So, yes, Chad, and I don't have my chart in front of me, but if you visualize a line graph and everybody was down here, ours is up here. And so Chad can tell you official metrics, but I want to say that we are doing substantially better with a 81% recovery rate post-COVID, which is unheard of amongst almost all of our Texas agencies, and even more impressive against sister agencies around the nation. So I don't even need Chad anymore. He's amazing, and thank you for that lead in. It just goes to show, and now you've given me the mic back, so I'm going to keep talking. Wayne and his team, and Chad and the team, and literally every single department, especially those that we got to meet at Dietra's hosting the event of steaks and pancakes with the rest of the leadership. Our team is one of the best, and all of the metrics that are making us successful in doubling year over year in all of these avenues, in the on-time performance and the quality of service and the cleanliness of our facilities is a true testament to how great all of our personnel is. And Rich, we appreciate your leadership and all of the team underneath you.
Thank you, Ben. A comment about, Paul, can you tell us about your Christmas tree lighting event in Grapevine?
Yeah, last Monday I had to leave a little bit early. but we did a Christmas tree lighting a little different than we've had in years past. We used to do it just in front of City Hall, and we closed a section of Main Street down. This year, we closed all of Main Street from Dallas to Northwest Highway, did a tree lighting ceremony in front of Harvest Hall and the Hotel Vin, and then had 2 fireworks shows at 7:30 and 8:30 in front of City Hall that coincided with turning on all the lights on Main Street. They were telling me we were going to have they expected over 20,000 people to show up for Monday night for the tree lighting. And I don't know the actual number, but it looked like a Saturday. If you've ever been to Great Fest on a Saturday night, that's what it looked like. So I believe there was well over 20,000 people. And talking to AJ, a lot of them rode the train in. So it was saw a lot of people getting on and off the train. Big event. We have our Grapevine, we have our Christmas parade on Thursday. And if you haven't tried the largest outdoor ice skating rink in the area, please come to Grapevine and try it out. It's been packed. So a lot of good stuff. Over 1,400 events.
Wow. Thank you all. Terrific. Exactly. You think that TOD is a good idea?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks so much. And the finance and audit, Nick?
Gosh, I gotta follow all that.
Yeah. Finance and audit. Go for it.
Right, numbers, okay. Now, yes, we also had the committee meeting on the 21st, and Fred presented most of the information, but fiscal year '22, our sales tax receipts are up approximately 17% over the prior year, and approximately 20% over budget, which equates to $19.5 million. Despite strong sales tax revenues and fares, our overall revenues for fiscal year '22 are down primarily to COVID-related grant funding timing issues. That's a lot to say. Even though we incurred increased costs from a collective bargaining agreement staffing, operating expenses for fiscal year '22 were under budget primarily due to timing differences, savings to the use of retirement account forfeitures, insurance costs, and staffing levels. Capital grant revenues were down $64 million for fiscal year due to timing differences, which we will make that up. There are no surprises relative to the balance sheet as it reflects status consistent with prior months. The annual audit is underway, and financials are subject to adjustment for usual month and year-end estimates as additional information is obtained. Cash flow is still closely monitored, and as of today, is adequate to support operations as contemplated in the budget in the near term. We're awaiting FDA approval of a number of grants before requesting funds further. Unfortunately, the FDA right now indicates they are understaffed. A presentation is made on the quarterly public funds investment report to highlight matters of note. There are no action items on the agenda, and this concludes our report.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any questions about any of the committee reports? Any comments? If not, are there any items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda? Yeah.
Last week during the POM committee, I expressed concerns over the local PA 2023-1 entitled Approval of General Planning Consultant, GBC, contract. At the time, my issues centered primarily around the timing and lack of written information that we could figuratively chew on before making an informed decision. Since then, I've had an opportunity to talk with Rich, Chad, Tom, and Jamie of HDR Engineering, and I've also conducted a bit of detective work and are here to present the results. First of all, HDR Engineering is a leading, and I put that in all caps, consulting transit firm who has done work for Cap Metro in Austin, DART, Houston Metro, and here in Fort Worth on the Tower 55 Surface Street Improvement Project.
accept your motion.
I'm making it.
We have a motion to accept the
Second.
consent. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you so much, Nick. We have an action item, BA 2023-12, Wayne, on safety.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for letting me present this quickly to you. Yes, on page 13 of 83, you'll see board action item number BA 2023-12, and the item title is Public Transit Agency Safety Plan Annual Review and New Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Requirement Change Approval. Long story short, in 2020, you approved our PTASP plan, and it is time to update it, which we did, and simply state it. You can look down a little bit further on that page. You'll see what we updated, a couple of the appendices with some grammatical changes. We updated the organizational chart to reflect Rich and Christine joining the organization. Welcome. Signature lines we added for the union representation. And then Appendix J, there was a joint labor and management safety committee charter that we added to which was a requirement of the law. So everything's updated, ready to be signed off on. Therefore, the Planning, Operations, and Marketing Committee recommend that Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President, Chief Executive Officer to sign as the accountable executive approving the Trinity Metro Public Transit Agency Safety Plan as required by 49 CFR Part 673. Any questions?
No questions. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks.
We have a information item. I'm very excited to see Andy Taft here from Downtown Fort Worth, Inc., President and CEO. Done a great job for many, many years. Chad?
I was just going to introduce Andy.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
All right, so Andy, as you just said, is head of DFW Inc. And let's Andy do it.
Thank you very much.
And Andy, as you go through a presentation, can you talk before that about what Downtown Fort Worth Inc. is doing other than this? Because I think the kinds of things that you're doing downtown are important for everybody, and we ought to know that at this board.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And before I get started, I just want to apologize to both Chris Nettle and to Michael Crane. They have heard this presentation at City Council. So if you fall asleep, I'm not going to
Have a cup of coffee.
I'm not going to be offended. My name's Andy Taft. I'm the president of Downtown Fort Worth, Inc. And with me today is Melissa Canur, who is our project manager on the Lancaster and TNP pedestrian improvement projects. We've been around for about 40 years. We started when the business community in downtown Fort Worth recognized that the center city was in a state of disinvestment. And so a number of leading citizens took a tour to different cities around the country to see what they could do and to stem the tide of disinvestment in the center city. And so we've been working as a private nonprofit membership organization for the last 40 years. And to fast forward 40 years to what we're doing now, we are a co-owner of Hillside with Fort Worth Housing Solutions. It's 12 acres of land with 172 units of mixed income housing on it. We've been very active with the city and the county and Fort Worth Now and others, private donors, to do a couple of studies now that have resulted in Texas A&M's decision to expand in downtown on a 4-block site that they've got. We're working with a multitude of multifamily housing developers and have about 2,100 units in the pipeline right now for downtown. We're also working with a couple more hoteliers on some hotel sites that are of interest, as well as the city on the expansion of the convention center and developers that are under construction now. There are a number of other things that we're working on that are too early in the pipeline to talk about in a public forum like this. But suffice it to say that on the hospitality and the residential side, that's where we're seeing most of the activity, which is interesting because these are people who don't bring cars into downtown and who are very likely on the hospitality side to use mass transit, so they are your potential customers, and the residential developers who are bringing in people who are in downtown on the off-peak hours, the non-business hours. So between those and the schools that we're working with, trying to make downtown more, and the entire city more family-friendly, we are working very hard to round out the redevelopment of downtown to make it less office-heavy and make it more mixed-use and obviously transit-oriented wherever we can in the center city. I would also say that our biggest project to date, our biggest capital project to date, is a $40 million renovation of Paddock Park and Heritage Park that we're working on. I think we raised close to $30 million during COVID. We're about $15 million away from our goal, and if all works out, we'll be working with the city and others. We'll be opening a new Paddock and Heritage Park in the early months of 2026. That's the goal. So a lot of, oh, and forgive me, but there's a partnership that we have with Trinity Metro and the city of Fort Worth called the Strategic Action Plan. We do it every 10 years. We're wrapping that up. And that is a strategic vision of downtown 10 years from now, and all the action steps, the strategies and tactics that need to take place between now and then to get to that vision. Hopefully, we'll be bringing that to you and to the city in the first quarter, I'm sure, in the first quarter of next year to be adopted into the comprehensive plan. This is something that Trinity Metro and DFWI have done now for 40 years. This is our fourth strategic action plan. And as opposed to a lot of plans that you see different organizations do, this is not the kind that gets a glossy cover and it sits on a shelf. This forms the framework of Downtown Fort Worth, Inc.'s business plan. Every year, my compensation is based on how well we do relative to that plan. And it also forms the framework of the partnership that we have with Trinity Metro and the city of Fort Worth. And our entire staff is geared around the implementation process. And we are just about to switch from planning to implementation, hopefully here in the next couple of months. So thank you again for that partnership.
Thank you so much for that background. Everybody needs to understand.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is actually the result of one of the items in the strategic plan from the last 10 years that recognized the importance of the connections to the passenger platforms in our mass transit system. And I am sure that everyone sitting at the table today is familiar with the challenges that we have getting to the platform at the Lancaster, between Lancaster and the TMP platform. And these two pictures are very representative of what the big issue is. The picture on the left is a photograph taken from the sidewalk of Lancaster, and this is the first step that you take to get to the platform. You have to go through a hedge on some stepping stones and then through kind of a empty parking lot drive to the front door of the TMP warehouse. No signage, mind you, or what did I say, warehouse? Yeah, terminal, sorry. That's another project. It's another project. We'll talk about that at another time. But to the terminal. And if you were leaving the terminal, looking toward downtown, you're looking the other way down that drive, past a weird pot without a plant in it, to a hedge and some trees, and there's just very little indication that a very significant piece of public transportation infrastructure is there. And this is something that we've all known, and in the development of this condominium project, Trinity Metro worked very hard to assure that it could build or have built a significant plaza that ran between Lancaster and the TMP terminal. And so by virtue of a series of issues, including ownership issues and all manner of things, the project hasn't been built. But the Lancaster TIF picked up this project, And we worked with the Lancaster TIF to kind of work through how this might work. But the Lancaster TIF is now funding, has agreed to fund, a significant improvement to get people, human beings, from Lancaster all the way up to the loading platform and back. And I'm going to walk you through where we are, and you'll see toward the end of this that we are almost ready to start construction. So this is the project team again. What's that? A sign. Right.
You got me.
All in favor, say aye. So TIF 8 is your funding partner in this, and these are all the partners that have been involved. And this is a very complex sort of project in that Trinity Metro has an easement. The city of Fort Worth is a funding partner in it. The Texas Pacific and Loft Condominium Association is involved. I don't know if you've ever worked with a condominium association, but that is a group of human beings that is not used to saying yes with a degree of unanimity that you want in a program like this. And so look at Melissa. Melissa is 23 years old. She's been working. The Texas and Pacific Tavern and Grill is another condo owner. The United States Postal Service, not sure how many of you have worked with the Postal Service out of Washington, D.C., but they've been remarkably cooperative and very, very helpful. And the Near South Side is a partner as well in the next phase of this. The design build team is Fain, Kimley Horn, and RSM Design, and you're going to see the product of their work in just a moment. The guiding principles are important to recognize: safe, pleasurable, and accessible from Lancaster to the platform, an easy route, an accessible route, and a better route to the Near South Side. Again, that would be in the second phase, but this phase will get you halfway there. Improve the experience, the arrival experience, and the sense of place, so that people who are getting on and off the transit coming into downtown recognize that they're in a special place and they want to use public transit, and the public transit experience is elevated, right? I'm not sure that people associate public transit with an elevated experience. We're competing against the single occupant vehicle. This project will accomplish all of those. These are all of the landowners and uses and easements that had to be worked around. And again, Melissa did a yeoman's job working with the Trinity Metro staff and the city staff to untangle this web, and worked very hard on that. But it's all narrowed down to these colored areas. The Lancaster approach is particularly important because we want to make sure that there's a tie into buses. So the idea is to build a pull-off for Trinity Metro buses. The plaza, which will run between Lancaster and the building itself. Ultimately, hopefully, the lobby of the building will be transformed or leased or opened so that some user is there and it can be an active use so that people don't have to walk around the building but can actually use that as a public transit asset. But in the interim, if they have to walk around, we're going to make the decision-making to get around the building, through the courtyard passage and through and into and up the tunnel easier and more intuitive and a better experience. So these are the components of the project. And the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that this location at Lancaster is very obvious, and we're going to fix that, having to weave your way through the hedge there, and make the Lancaster frontage more apparent that it's a transit stop. When you get to the building itself, there will be some signage opportunities both on the door and elsewhere to make sure that people understand that they will know whether or not that those doors are unlocked, or whether or not they need to take a left and go around the building. And then once they get around the building, the picture in the upper right-hand corner is quite illustrative of what you see there. And I am telling you, if you make that corner, you don't want to walk. It is not inviting. It does not encourage somebody to walk. We're going to fix that by widening the sidewalk, adding more light to the sidewalk, and creating a destination at the end that makes it very obvious that you want to be down there. And then once you get down through the passage and into the tunnels, we're going to make this a more inviting and interesting area that celebrates the history of that tunnel. So let's start with the connector between Lancaster and the building itself. It's that easement there that you've got. This is the photos that you're seeing there on the right are the kind of imagery that the designers were using to kind of picture how they wanted that arrival experience to be. And this is a plan view of the intent. The sidewalk area will have the brick pavers. The crisscrosses that you see working through there will be overhead twinkle lights that will be very festive at night and clearly identify the path of travel. There'll be landscaping on both sides. As you can see, as it approaches Lancaster, it will broaden out and welcome people in. And we're purchasing benches. We're not going to install them on the first phase. We're going to wait till a little more development happens on Lancaster before we do that. And of course, there's that big welcoming sign that you saw that will clearly illustrate that that you're in the right place and this is where you want to be. This is the sort of landscaping, and we point out the landscaping because Trinity Metro is responsible for maintenance. And while the TIF is paying for the installation of all the infrastructure, we've worked very hard with Chad and the staff of Trinity Metro to make sure that what we build there is easy and affordable to maintain. So we're using a lot of native plantings, a lot of things that don't require a lot of water, and using materials that don't have to be weeded or as much as some more ornate sort of landscaping would be. So we've worked very hard to make it very affordable to maintain. And again, I'm going to skip this. This gives you a sense of scale of that sign. This is a very monumental, intentionally large, exciting sign that makes it very clear that the TMP station is here. It is also in scale of that big monumental historic building behind it, and also in the scale of Lancaster with those monumental pieces of art down the middle. It's going to fit in great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be lit at night. And that's really going to be a great opening statement. And this is, again, an image of the kind of scale that we're talking about. We don't have much of this in downtown, and this is going to set that welcoming experience apart. And as you can see in that rendering, the crisscross lights across the top, the landscaping, the path down to the monumental building, and that sign really create a sense of welcome and a very obvious arrival and departure destination. And then once you get down to a more human scale, there are interpretive pieces that will go along with this that explain where people are, the history of the building. This one is particularly unique. As you can see, you can kind of see through it. If you're standing where this woman is standing, you see the building behind the rendering of the building. So you really get a sense of the architecture of the building. So we're giving people these experiences as part of their transit journey. And then the signage from the street all the way to the station has been fully thought out. We have a wayfinding signage design firm that's been working very diligently with us. And so at every decision point, it's going to be very clear which way you're supposed to go if those doors are locked. And then once you get to the end of the alley, that wall that we were looking at, this is a large graphic that will be affixed to that wall. And it will celebrate the train heritage of the building. And as you can see, it's very monumental. If you make that turn and you see that, it's very clear that people want you to go down there. So between the lighting and the signage and the broader sidewalk, that decision to walk down that pathway has been made for you already. You'll feel very comfortable doing that. This gives you a sense of what it's going to be like. The idea is that we'll be printed on a material that you can actually see through. You can see through the bricks. So it'll be kind of a ghosted image standing proud of the bricks. Then as you get into the tunnel area, one of the big challenges with the tunnel that we heard about was that as you walk down that tunnel, the archways in the tunnel provide an area that you can't see behind. Like people could be hiding there. I don't know what's going on the other side of that. And people have felt uncomfortable with that. So the idea of securing those archways in some manner has been an idea that's been floating around for a number of years. And so the design team came up with this idea. These are large photographs of people who, over the decades, have used this terminal. people of different backgrounds, locations, movie stars, local celebrities, all kinds of people have come in and out of the TMP, and this is local history that deserves to be told, and what better place to tell it than where it actually happened. One of the interesting things about this is that they're raised off the ground, which will make maintenance of the floors very easy, but also that they will be changeable. So over time, if Trinity Metro ever wanted to tell different kinds of stories in there, you've got opportunities to do that. Also, if they're damaged, they can be replaced and repaired pretty easily. These are some examples of some of the imagery that the design firm worked with local historians to come up with to tell a series of stories of people who use the terminals and who worked there. So next steps, we are down to 90-plus construction documents at this point. We're in the process of getting all the construction approvals signed by all of the parties, and with any luck at all, in very early 2023, the TIF will fund construction, and the construction process will start. And Melissa, how long do we think the construction process will take? 6 to 8 months? Yeah, right. So we're hoping 6 to 8 months. So the agreements have been circulated between Trinity Metro, the condo associations, the TMP Tavern, and the U.S. Post Office. We would like to expand the easement just a little bit to accomplish a couple of design items. So that's it. It's been, how long have we been working on this? Yeah, right before COVID. COVID slowed us down a little bit, but in as much as this connects downtown to one of our 2 big passenger terminals for rail, this is an extraordinarily important part of the fabric of downtown and the linkage between the central business district, the residents, the hotels, the Omni expansion, and the airport and places in between, right? And the other places that that our mass transit via train connects us to. So we're very excited, very proud to be a part of this project, and we're very proud of the partnership that we've had with Chad and the entire staff of Trinity Metro, and of course you, the board. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, Andy? You got it here, you want to ask me something? What's the total project cost?
We are thinking that it's going to come in right at about $1.5 million.
And that's fully funded at this point.
Yes, sir.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
TMP terminal is one of the coolest terminals in the United States, and we just need to figure out how to, make it shine like
Right.
the terminals throughout the United States.
Absolutely.
This is a great start, and thank you for this presentation and for all that you're doing. And that Commerce Street home, that's going to take the straight down.
The straightening of Commerce Street? It depends. The design will be another year and a half or so, and then the demolition of that. So we're probably looking 3+ years out. Yeah.
That's all changing, and with the A&M campus, this is all very dynamic area.
There's about $1.2 billion worth of activity on the books right now for the immediate convention center area, and it sits right between your 2 loading platforms. Absolutely perfect.
And we're spending $200 million to go to, from the TNP terminal to Mistletoe Station. So
Right.
we're all just kind of trying to lift our game up a little bit.
Yeah. Can we count that in the convention center numbers?
I think you should.
1.4.
Millions.
That's how we count it.
I like the way
By the way, if it comes in over $1.5 million, that is on Melissa. Right.
Thank you, Melissa. It's nice to see you. Appreciate you both coming out here. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much for the partnership.
That was done.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Rich.
Rich, you want to chat about the schedule?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please bear with me with this mask. I've been ill for a week and I'm trying to keep you all healthy. So in early November, we as a board met together to talk about the governance and sort of format of our board meetings. And we heard some feedback from you all about the frequency of the meetings and whether or not we should consider consolidating those twice monthly meetings into a single meeting. Right now, the format of this board is that the board convenes twice, once as a committee. There's 3 committees. Typically, we have most of you present for those committees, so you're coming here, we're having a lot of great discussion, but then we're adjourning. There's a week of waiting, and then we come back and the items that were discussed are then voted on. So we heard loud and clear that doesn't seem to be a productive use of everyone's time. And the recommendation coming out of the board retreat, I'll repeat this just for the benefit of you all as well as those in the audience here, is that there were a couple concerns that we had around consolidation. One is that we don't lose the focus. So the one advantage of committees is that we have a focus area that every month we come together and we talk about the same topics or topic areas. We're going to make sure that we continue to do that. We'll have a standing agenda format. We'll have board member leads in particular areas, although they won't be no longer committee chairs. We'll have topical areas that we make sure we hit on each month. We also wanted to be sure that there's a time for a way to improve public participation, have more transparency about how this board conducts business. So by going to a single meeting once a month, we will have, you don't need to, as a member of the public, need to worry about making yourself available to come twice. It'll be one-stop shopping, come to the meeting. The third and probably the most important part of this is that board members may all participate now in the discussion. So the committee structure up until this point, only members of each committee were able to participate and vote on action items in the committee. That's no longer going to be the case. We're going to have what is effectively a committee of the whole structure so that every board member will be able to participate, engage on all topics discussed at the board meeting. We're really excited about this recommendation and new format, which will take effect January 17th with the first meeting of 2023. Meetings will take place, the recommendation is to have meetings take place on the, let me get this right here, third Monday, except when there's a holiday. And there's 3 Monday holidays that fall on the third Monday. And so on those days, we'll have those meetings on Tuesday. Meetings will also start a little bit earlier, so meetings will now begin at 3 p.m. And I'm recapping that here. The item is in your packet. There's no action required. What we will do, unless there's discussion and any further feedback, we will advertise these meetings and post them online as required by state law. Can I answer any questions? Thank you.
All right, so I got to get set up here. I'm going to talk to you today.
Just talk. I want to make a note for the 2 January and February, we probably won't be here. Those are council days. So, yeah, and Tuesday, June the 20th. Any Tuesday probably is. Some days we finish earlier, but he talks a lot. So.
It's because he has a lot to say.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'm here to present a board information item on our new online ridership dashboard. Some staff have been working on this for a little while. As you know, every committee meeting, Wayne, AJ, and I present ridership information, on-time performance, KPIs, that type of information. This happens to be the ridership version of the reports that we have put online. And this hopefully is an opportunity for you to access this information at any time you so choose. And so what we plan on is in January not producing the ridership reports as you've seen in the past and allow this to stand as those ridership reports. What I'll do is still kind of bring this up and highlight a couple of things for you. We're working on on my favorite report as well to see if we can't get that online as well. So we'll see how that goes. But we've had several staff members who have worked pretty hard on this. James Wilson, who's on my planning team, Brandon Poe, and Nate Newby, who are on the marketing team, to make sure that it all works right. So enough of me talking about what it is. Let me show you what we have here. So this is our ridership report. Oh, sorry. And what you see here is the total ridership year to date. This happens to be for September by the end of the fiscal year. We have ridership by mode in this section and our trend. So this is the previous, the current is in red, the previous is in blue, and then the year before that is in gray. So you can see a trend there. And then you also have our daily ridership by mode. We're working on this part down here where, it says 0.1 thousand. Well, that's 100 or so rides. So we're trying to figure out how we can provide that data a little bit clearer there. And then the top 5 bus routes for that particular time period. And so a couple of neat things here is this happens to be all modes, and then it happens to be September of 2022. And so very quickly, I'll just change the date here, and you can see it backs off to August, and then the numbers change for that as well. You come back a little bit more, you can see 508, and then the numbers change for that particular time period as well. When we come back to September, you can also do it by mode. So here's our bus numbers, 349,000 rides for September, 22% increase. You see how that works out on the chart there. TRE, you can see how the chart changes to the TRE numbers. Also, you can highlight any particular month. So you can see there, that box that pops up is for the month of May. That's the second, since it's on the blue line, that's the FY21, and then 69,000 rides for that particular month in May. That's for the TRE. If you go to TexRail, you can see how our numbers increase. So this mimics the hard paper that we give you every month. So you can see 51,000 rides for that particular month. If you go back, you can see how that changes, 47, 49, and it's just current to that particular month there. We also have access, Fort Worth bike sharing is on here, van pool, zip zones, and then other, which is Grapevine Shuttle and nets. And so this is our working dashboard. So hopefully this is information that you find useful. We've not published this just yet as we're trying to, just finish any tweaks and testing in lots of different browsers. It works really good on the phone, looks fantastic on the mobile device. We just need to make it look as good on the web pages as well. So any questions on that?
Can you go back to September for all rides?
September, all rides, yes, sir.
Okay. I think this looks great. The one thing tell me what the difference between 566 and the 458.
The 458 is the weekend.
Okay, all right, that's not.
For some reason, these are really tiny, so this is part of the tweaking that we have to do. These are color-coded, weekend, Saturday, Sunday, so you have a red, I'm sorry, yes, a weekday. We have holiday, Sunday, Saturday, and a weekday.
So the 458 is the weekday.
Is a weekday component of that. If you look at this is Saturday, 61. 61.
The other thing, Chad, is we've talked about close to 6 million rides for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way we can do year to date?
Yeah, I think we can work on that.
That way, I can say,
Sure.
Can anybody that says, hey, I see a lot of empty buses, well, you just saw the wrong bus at the wrong time.
Right, right.
Well, to your point then, Chad, I asked the more convoluted question. Will this be full public domain dashboard?
Come January, it will be.
So quite a lot of elected officials that I've interacted with or appointed me here and their staff are constantly asking me for this data. I think a strategic campaign by Glenn and Melissa and whomever to say, I mean, I'm an analytics guy, so this kind of stuff super excites me, almost as much as her sign at TMP Station. But I think an Everybody's Doing It campaign and show people that the numbers are really growing in there. I think some strategic blasting and rollout and people at 200 Texas Street and, you know, all of their various subtitles over there understand that this exists and is always available, because we have in the past been accused of keeping this a bit close to our chest. And I think that this is data that supports our case in every conversation we're having around the county and with the 42 cities.
That's great. Once we have this to where we're more comfortable with releasing it, we'll do a press release and make sure that people are aware of it.
Awesome.
Oh, I would just say, we get so many emails, but I would back up that on a monthly basis, you send this out. Just that we're getting updates, but not just to us, to every council that's paying into this or part of Trinity Metro, that they can access this and see it. So it's a constant reminder of the numbers.
Sure, will do.
Chad, is this something, this will be online after January 1st, and we can access it online?
Yes, you'll be able to access it online. Right now, it's behind a password. It's password protected, just so that we can work out the kinks in it. Like I said, we're still testing different browsers, and even up here today, you can see even though we tested it earlier, it's still showing a little bit different. And so once we get those worked out, then we'll do a press release. It'll be online so everybody can access. I'll work with Melissa and make sure that it's accessible from the webpage, an easy click, and then we'll share it as often as we can.
I think it'd be cool to add into our link tree on our IG account and some of those where people can if they're wandering through our social media, they can have an active link to this in case they forget it exists.
Okay.
I use social media words.
You better than me.
One of the things we do really well is we send out every week that information highlighting the PR that we've received. And I'm not sure how to do it, but in some fashion, everybody needs to be reminded who's on that mail-out list that this is available. Maybe a link, maybe something, because you can have it on the internet, but that doesn't mean they're going to read it. But if they see it, you know what? I think they'll be more likely to.
So Melissa has the capacity of, when she sends out information, she can figure out what an open rate is of those emails, are they clicking on them and then turn it off, how long they spend on it. So there's some metrics there, statistics that she can pull up on how effective our email campaign is.
Yeah,
In Tableau, you also have the really great option of subscribing to each dashboard. So if we want, and then anytime it's updated, you can get a notification. So anytime they, add a chart, or, I know that only matters when you actually update the information, but if it's updated monthly, then
Right.
if you subscribe to it, you'll automatically get an update.
Yeah, so there's some links down here to Tableau, and then some other, other links here that allow for what Charlotte's talking about. So you can download the information, share that information.
It's very cool. We're all excited.
We're excited too. This is kind of a long time coming. We have staff that spend a lot of time preparing the reports and making sure that they all look right, and the I's are dotted and the T's crossed and the numbers make sense between Wayne and myself and AJ, and then the people who actually put it together. So this will be great for us, I think, to be able to put all this online and know that it's repetitive and now it's data that's being added to it, not necessarily having to reformat those pages each time. And maybe easier on Christine as well, so. in the long run. So, okay, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Really good information. Okay, we have a resolution that I'd like for Rich to present.
Al, would you go ahead to the front? So what we're going to do is we're going to do the photo at the end, Christine. Is that what you're doing? Right. So, Alan, on behalf of the board, I'd like to, let's face here, let's face the board. So, in appreciation for your service to the Trinity Metro Board of Directors, whereas the voters of Fort Worth established the Fort Worth Transportation Authority on November 8, 1983 to provide public transportation within the city of Fort Worth, and whereas the Trinity Metro has a board of directors for establishing policy and overall direction, and whereas Alan Hooks, you Alan Hooks, have served on the board of directors from September 2017 to November 2022, and whereas you have served on the Commuter Rail Committee, Planning Operations and Marketing Committee, and Transit-Oriented Development Committee, and whereas your devotion and dedication have earned you the esteem of the Board of Directors, Trinity Metro staff, city councils, Tarrant County, and the entire community in which you serve. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of Trinity Metro that the Board of Directors publicly commends and gratefully acknowledges its deep appreciation to you, Alan Hooks, for your years of service and contribution to public transportation. Here adopted November 28, 2002. Now, this is all creased and not signed. This is not what we're giving you. What we are doing today is we're going to photograph the board, you with the board. We're going to go ahead and frame this resolution with a photo of the board. Okay? So we'll do that at the end of the meeting. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Al.
I believe everyone has expressed their personal appreciation to Alan. He's been a terrific friend, board member, advocate for transit. It's been a joy working with him. Alan, I'm grateful for you being here and your friendship. It's been really important to me. Thank you. Okay, Rich, your president's report, I believe, is next.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members, Trinity Metro staff, and members of the public. Today concludes the Thanksgiving holiday week with many travelers returning home on transit and other modes. Trinity Metro Bus and TexRail alone transported more than 76,000 people during the week. Our entire team, especially those who worked on Thanksgiving Day and throughout the weekend, provided safe and reliable service, a job made even more challenging with the unrelenting rain. They have our collective unwavering support and admiration. The entire executive leadership team and many board members had a chance to greet many of our team members at the Herschel R. Payne Bus Garage a week earlier. The President's pancake breakfast and steak dinner for the overnight team enjoyed a delicious meal prepared by our executive leadership team. It was a well-run event down to every detail. Our purpose was simple: to build relationships with our colleagues and show gratitude. We served more than 400 meals in a period of a little more than 12 hours. And I got to tell you, our ELT has some serious grilling game. Turning our attention to the future, the board's approval today of the general planning consultant contract with HDR is a big step forward for Trinity Metro. It follows on a successful board retreat earlier this month in which this board and executive leadership team discussed the opportunities ahead. One thing is abundantly clear: we are not keeping pace with the current needs of our community, let alone future aspirations. I would suggest for more on this, you read today's article in the Star Telegram. The additional resources brought to bear by HDR will allow us to undertake a number of concurrent studies. This includes a first-ever Trinity Metro value proposition study that will quantify the specific benefits associated with transit and rail services in our community. There are many potential paths for this agency. We will be deliberate in how we move forward and open-minded in how we think about the opportunities. We will reach out to all stakeholders and be transparent to ensure we pursue the best path that's best suited for the city of Fort Worth and Tarrant County. And finally, I want to take one more moment to say thank you to Alan Hooks. I have only had the pleasure of knowing you, Alan, for 6 months or so. And I got to tell you, your support has meant a lot to me personally as I transitioned into my role earlier this year. You've dedicated much of your life to public service with TxDOT as mayor of Blue Mound and board member to Trinity Metro since 2017. I know, Alan, you to be a sincere public servant, helpful, and always humble. Thank you for giving yourself over the last 5 years, a time in which your support a time in which, with your support, we launched our innovative Zip Zone service, restructured Trinity Metro bus service, commissioned TexRail, and continued to operate service throughout the pandemic. That's a job well done. I hope you will stay in touch. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my remarks.
How do I follow that? Thank you, Rich. Very detailed, outstanding, and my comments relate to the general planning consultant. When the issue came up a week ago, I asked Nick a question. I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to go big. Okay, this is our opportunity to be deliberate and move some important things forward, and I believe that the articles today are spot on. Rich's comments are spot on. Let's just go big. So that's my complete comment today. And do we need any executive session today? I don't believe we have any executive session. Are there any other business to come before the board? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Yes.